Welcome, everyone. I'm Angelo Robles, the founder and chairman of Family Office Association. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by my good friend, Russ Prince. Russ is an advisor and consultant to families around the world that have great and tremendous wealth. Russ, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here, Angelo.
I think you could do better justice than I could to explaining to our audience a little bit about yourself.
I've been in the financial advisory business for 30 years. And over the last 10, 12 years, I focused extensively on working with very successful entrepreneurial families and the family offices they create. When you look at this, we're talking about throughout the world, because all the wealth that's being created everywhere is generating enormous interest and the growth in the family office industry.
We're going to mainly focus on kind of trends that are happening within single family offices. Every couple of years, it seems like there's something from being more active in direct investing to hedge fund and financial services titans creating their family offices and adding a level of risk management and rigor that maybe was not seen in prior family offices. So it may be safe to say that as the generations evolve, the family offices evolve, adapt, and potentially get more professional. Let's focus a little bit on that word, professional, more institutional. What are certain trends, positive trends, that you're seeing in single-family offices?
As you just said, single-family offices are getting a lot more professional. First, there's a lot more of them coming onto the scene. And they have a lot of money, and a lot of high-quality talent wants to work for them. We can come back to that. But what's really clear that because they're getting much more professional, because they are becoming partially institutional, because they're improving what they're doing, they're making really strides to make this more effective. Take, for example, outsourcing. We're seeing an enormous amount of outsourcing. The idea is that any family office, any high-performing family office is able to deliver the entire range of possible solutions to that wealthy family. They can do anything. That doesn't mean it's all internal, as we're saying. What it really means is that they have the ability to go out, source the talent that's needed, and oversee that talent because they truly understand the family. They match up all the connections between what's required, making sure it works for that family, what that family really wants and needs, putting it all together, and that enables them to deliver anything, theoretically, to any family. Nothing is off limits. Everything is possible now. And outsourcing is making that possible. What's also happening because of outsourcing is that at one point you needed a great deal of money, hundreds of millions of dollars in principle, to have a single family office. Because of outsourcing, because of technology, because of the ingenuity of a lot of these professionals, that number is dropping. You can have a lot less money in your family office and still have a single family office. You can have a very lean, few people coordinating it, and you can have all the benefits and the advantages of that single family office.
Should a single family office internally with their talent, if they want to have something that's most integral to the family, are they better off doing that internally, but everything else should be outsourced to people where that's their most important role?
Well, you think about it, there are a lot of factors that kick into what should be outsourced and what should be done internally. So if you start thinking of it, one of the reasons people set up single-family offices, one of the main reasons is for control. The more control you want, the less you outsource. The more you have key things that you want to be in charge of and overseeing and making sure it's working just exactly the way you want, the less you outsource. Let's look on the flip side. Cost is a big issue. If you want to mitigate costs, then outsourcing is the way you tend to go. So you're starting to get a balance between things like control and things like cost. So it becomes a balance, and what's real interesting is that the different family offices, because of the nature of the family, the dynamics involved, what they want and need, the generations, all these factors kick in, come into play, and then, because of all those factors, they decide what the balance is, how much they outsource and how much they have internal. So it really varies tremendously by the family.
By becoming more institutional, that implies that they have a business plan for the family office, they have the right structures in place, they have a level of leadership and culture to help foster the process to get to the outcome. Are you seeing trends to family offices becoming more professional from their structure, from the perspective that I'm noting?
Yeah, what you're seeing is, you're right. What you're seeing is it's not a mom and pop operation anymore. It's really high levels in efficiency. I mean, this is at the top end of the private wealth industry. You're really having the best people are going here because of the opportunities it provides, the revenue for the family, the profitability that's possible, the money that the professionals who work for them can make because of this. Everybody is recognizing that this type of money and these type of opportunities have multiple benefits for all these people involved. And therefore, the family is in a wonderful position to make sure that they're getting the best of the best working for them. And that's happening more and more than ever before.
So you're noting the trend, as am I. As families become more institutional, they're hiring higher quality talent. That also comes at a cost because they're going to want more on salary and potentially bonuses if they're investment professionals a carry. So you are seeing the very wealthy families picking up the pace and willing to spend more money relative to get the best quality talent.
It's not only, what we're saying, the very wealthy, all the families are starting to realize that there's a great benefit from having really top-notch people. Now remember, we can outsource. So outsourcing is a way we can manage some of those costs. And if we have the best talent in, we are in a position to make sure that the family's agenda is really met in the best way possible. Let's take, for example, how the compensation systems are changing. At one point, everybody was an employee. You worked for the family, they gave you a salary, there was a bonus that was usually discretionary.
Right.
Now that's changing, and the trend is picking up. We call it the participatory model. At some level, the talent is involved in the same advantages the family gets, the same benefits. If the family does really well based on certain criteria, then these people get paid better. It's easiest seen in the investment side. If they do great investing, if the performance is sensational, they get a percentage of the profits in a sense. But it's even carrying over to other aspects, such as the wealth planning and even the administrative side. So there is a real trend to get higher quality people, the highest quality people around. At the same time, they are being paid for their performance and their ability to, the magic they can bring to that family.
And we spoke about getting more institutional, about rigor, about structure. We didn't talk too much about, let's transition a little bit into measuring results, perhaps beginning with knowing what the goals are the goals being met, to benchmarking, to latest trends among the best of the best family offices, and how to compare, almost maybe how to stress test whether, how could I optimize performance in my single family office?
One of my areas where I get engaged extensively with these families is what you just mentioned, stress testing, which is, stress testing is a process that gives us two outcomes. One is what the family doing with this family office and what the family office doing, are they getting the results, the real results the family wants to achieve? So are we getting the solutions, are the solutions delivering the results for the family? And the other thing is that, are we missing anything? Are there any opportunities that are out there that just we're not seeing, that we're not picking up on? That's what stress testing is all about. High-end family office, and I don't mean the wealthiest, I mean the most professional, sophisticated, are really focusing on stress testing almost on a continuous basis at this point. They want to make sure that they're not missing anything that's out there. They want to make sure that they understand what the other family offices are doing and what's working, the difference between benchmarking and best practices. Benchmarking is nice. That means a lot of people might be doing something. Best practices means what they do gets them the results they really want. So they're looking for those best practices. Stress testing is one of them. Efficiently and effectively outsourcing has become another one. The compensation models of how we manage people and motivate them is another one. The idea of how we really manage the governance process in that family office and how it relates. These are all best practices, and the families are really looking for them, trying to understand them, but not only understand them, learning how to adapt them to their particular situation. Because these families, in many ways, are unique. They have their own dynamics and own issues. So a best practice is an idea, a practice. How it applies is what really becomes important to each individual family.
And how do they even necessarily know, even if benchmarking is a little overrated, but the best practices are the best of the best, or what's going to be best for them? They need to have a little bit of data in terms of what others may be doing to have a little bit of comparison, given that there's relatively a limited number of single-family offices, and for the most part they're very private. It's hard to get collective data and research.
That's an understatement. That's a real... You and I are working on a new project looking at what people in the family office world, what these families are doing with respect to outsourcing and stress testing, for example. It is really hard. So what I tell everybody when I do this data, and you have databases, I have databases, we go out, we promise anonymity. There's all sorts of things we have to do. These are snowball samples, meaning that they're not, since we don't know the real size of the family office universe, we can't say they're representative of anything but the people we actually talk to. What this really tells us is that this is directional. All the research should be seen as directional, something that a person understands is better than not, but it's not the definitive answer. And by collecting research, the research you and I do, the research other people in the industry does, by collecting all this information, you're getting a good snapshot of what is possible. And then you have to apply it and see how it works for you. But the research itself, you're never going to get definitive or really, there's a limit to the type of response we can get. There's a limit to the findings, but it still helps us understand where we want to take this.
To be a true profession, I would think the industry, meaning the single-family office industry, not only needs to attract quality people that can advance it to another level, they need to have potentially younger people and have a career track, which right now appears to be very, very limited in the single-family office community. Are you seeing trends among larger family offices to have a combination of elders but also younger talent and resources and make it attractive to a younger professional?
It is, in talking to the families I have been, it's sort of all over the place at this point. There's some of what you're talking about. There's some people who are not even thinking about that at this point. There are some people who are saying it's something we have to start looking at because we're going to transition the family and it's going to move to different generations and other things of that nature. And the millennials are coming up and they have a different perspective. It's not refined at this point. It's not what the people are doing. Let's keep in mind that the people who are controlling the money are by and large over 50 years old. And they're not always thinking about how it affects where they're going because they see themselves continuing for some time to come. So at that point, that's not the professionalism we're seeing at this level. One day I expect that to happen, but right now it's really about how can we get the best experts in here working with us to get the results we want for the family.
And related to that, and this would be the advantage of having a career track and having a blend of talent and ages inside a family office, is what trends are you seeing on a succession plan? What happens if the CEO, the president, the executive director, any moniker you want to use of a good leader that leads the family office gets disabled, dies, gets a better opportunity, moves on, and now is the family office in shambles?
Shambles is a little bit extreme in many cases because there are people who can come into play and maybe the leader left, but they're usually second in command. So I'm not sure shambles is the right solution. I mean, everybody in a sense is replaceable. At the same time, the succession issue is becoming more and more prevalent because these people are getting older. And to a certain degree, some of the family wants to move in. Now, you might have created your single family office because you sold your business. You made a great deal of money on the sale. You created the single family office. The next generation looks at the single family office as the family business. So they want to be involved in running it. They want to go into this. And for them, learning the private wealth industry, learning how banks work, for example, so working there first before they come back to the family, there are tracks for that now that are forming. So this is starting to evolve, but it's not close. People have succession plans. What we're finding out is that they do a really good job on, I'll call it the technical aspect of the succession plan, the estate plan, the way we're going to transfer the wealth between the generations. We have brilliant lawyers, for example, coming in to help us do this cost effectively. Now, who's going to run it and the people involved and so forth? I was engaged by one family who, when the patriarch was there, the three kids, they loved each other. It was wonderful. It was just family togetherness. Everybody went to everybody's birthday. It was sensational. Patriarch died. Each kid got 1/3 of both the business and control of the family office. And within 3 to 6 months, I think, everybody was suing each other. So technically, this was a great transition. It minimized all the estate tax issues, took care of all the trust. I mean, it was really done technically brilliantly. That was fine. On the what we call the human element, it was a complete disaster. So now they're all suing each other, and now this is going to just really rips into the business and hurts the family office. Everything becomes a problem. So it's starting. People are recognizing it, but there isn't really a set of right practices or best practices to get us that type of succession. We just don't have it yet. People are still doing it. People are doing it so-so. Some are much more adamant about it, and some people are just. One person told me, I guess the solution is not to die. And I thought that was a good solution. It would solve all the problems. So it's starting, but it isn't that refined yet. And the other thing that's coming up is more and more of these family offices are coming into existence, and that is one of the biggest trends going. Private wealth and the fact that you don't have to have hundreds of millions to have one, it's creating a great many new single-family offices throughout the world. As more and more come into existence, the issue for them is not succession. The issue is, what am I going to do to make this thing optimal?
Now, some people would describe what you're noting as more outsourcing, as globalization of talent, as effectively having a virtual family office. Is this a trend that you're seeing, and what's your opinion?
All family offices are virtual. Let's start off with that. I think about it this way. You have a core set of expertise inside the family office. But the minute you start bringing in outside experts to benefit the family, it's virtual. There are virtual components. Every family office that is doing more than, say, investment management, for example, is virtual. So think of it in this regard. If my family, I have a family office, if my family needs high-end medical care, it's very unlikely I'm going to hire a bunch of doctors to be internal to my family office. I'm going to team up or line up with a high-end concierge medical practice. So all family offices have some degree of virtual qualities. I'm dealing with one family who, because of stalkers, for example, have brought certain security people in-house to help deal with it. But at the same time, they're still dealing with outside security professionals to deal with certain other issues. Another family who has their own investment banking group built into their family office because they're doing deals around the world, still work with local investment banking and legal talent in the different parts of the world where they're doing deals. It's virtual because they're bringing in outside expertise. Every family office is virtual. What we're noting is that they are concentrating expertise internally that they believe they do extremely well, and then picking the best of the best to bring in as needed. Those are the outside experts, the specialists.
Russ, if you have any closing comments relative to trends in the advancement of the single-family office community and industry, what would that be?
We recognize that the industry is booming, and for better or for worse, the private wealth, the high-end private wealth, there's more of it than ever before, and there's more families that are wealthy than ever before. We're going to see more and more people create family offices. We're going to see them bring the level down and the amount of wealth that we'll have to have a more virtual family office than less virtual, for example. it's going to be more intense. The real question is, for the family offices, how do we really identify the very best talent, for example? How do we optimize what we're doing on behalf of the family? This is where it's going to go, and this is where all the effort is being made to understand what is going to make us that much better so that the family is that much better off.
And Russ, for those that are interested in following up and learning more about your work, and Russ has been an author of many books, and we're doing some projects together as well, which we're very excited about. But how could people learn a little bit more about your work?
They can come to the Family Office Association because all the material is going to be distributed that we're creating now through the association, pure and simple. And that's really one of the few places it's going to be available.
Russ, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Pleasure, Angelo.
We thank you all for watching our video. It was great to have my good friend Russ Allen Prince, very esteemed, a tremendous pleasure, and very excited of the projects that we're working on together to be of value to families and single-family offices and those that service the community to learn more. Everyone all around the world. We're very excited about it. I'm Angelo Robles, founder and chairman of Family Office Association. We are at FamilyOfficeAssociation.com. I could be reached via email, angelo@FamilyOfficeAssociation.com, or my various social media. Thank you all very much for watching the show, and Russ, again, thank you for being on.